Hello everyone, we got a huge bill today in the sense that it's going to have huge impact on anyone in the state of California that owns a firearm, anyone that visits the state of California with a firearm, anyone that is not constantly staying aware, because you are going to have two options. Register your firearms with the California Department of Justice, or turn them into the police. Those are the only two options that you are being presented with Senate Bill sb1160 in the state of California. The problem with this bill is, reading through the text, this is a very short bill, but it's giving huge authority to the California Department of Justice on the fees, how to apply, what you're going to need to submit when you apply, and all that stuff. We're going to kind of run through some of the issues with this bill, the impact that it's going to have on people that both visit California, live in California, and the specific impact on the average gun owner in the state of California. I'm going to talk about my experiences with various California registration schemes that are still to this day putting me through a little bit of a bind, and I'm in a tricky scenario of, is this gun even legal to possess when it's assembled? Am I going to go to jail if I ever get caught with this thing? We're going to talk about that as well because it's a huge issue, and you're going to want to stay informed on this because this bill is being written and proposed by the same guy that got SB2 through, Anthony Portantino. Someone needs to take this guy's pen and computer away. Someone needs to put this guy on timeout because he is just getting more and more insane with the bills that he is proposing. But first, before we talk about that, I want to talk about today's sponsor, which is Delete Me. Delete Me is a service that I've paid for over 3 years before signing up with them. You've probably heard me talk about them before. What they do is they go through the internet and scrub your personal information. Do me a favor, when this video is over, type in your name and your address, or your name and the city you live in, your name or your phone number, and just see what kind of information pops up. You would be surprised with how easy it is to find your address, your family's names and addresses, your phone number, your family's contact information. A lot of information is on the internet that you probably don't want people getting a hold of. The reason I started paying for this was because a very well-intentioned person saw a video of mine, had some concerns, and they looked me up on the internet and called me while I was at dinner with my wife. That was an eye-opener for me. I realized at that moment that I needed to do a better job of protecting myself, and there are too many websites on the internet constantly uploading your data for me personally to spend the time. It would take me like 30 hours a month to just remove it from the most easily accessible. Delete Me takes all the work out of it, makes it significantly easier for you to stay safe on the internet, and if you use the code Reno and the link in the description, you will save some money on it. Again, I've been paying for it for years, so I truly believe in this product. Thank you. California Bill 1160 is setting up or allowing the DOJ to set up a firearms registration system that is going to require you to register your firearms, every single one of them, if it's in the state of California, every year annually. The fees we don't know what those fees are because that's going to be up to the DOJ to decide how much it costs to maintain this system. So the cost to maintain the system is going to indicate what the fee is going to be. If we have any sort of information that we could extrapolate from, we could look at the assault weapon registration, we could look at the forms that when you move to the state of California with a firearm, it's usually in the range of $20 to $25 probably per firearm. So for the sake of this discussion, we're going to assume $25 per firearm is the cost. It could be more, it could be less, it could be just one fee to register all your firearms every year. We don't know because the bill is allowing the DOJ to set it up completely on their own. We've seen in the past where the DOJ puts emergency regulations through to just ram them through at the very last second, and that seems to be very successful, or a very successful method for them to go about it. The California Department of Justice has until April 1st of 2025 to establish and maintain a system for the annual registrations of firearms held in this state. If we look at the way it's gone in the past, they're going to wait until the very last moment to push that through and allow it to go forward. So I'm expecting you're going to have the window from April 1st to July 1st of 2025 because as of July 1st of 2025, any person who owns, possesses, or has custody or control over any firearm subject to registration pursuant to this division that is not currently registered is guilty of an infraction punishable by a fine of $1,000. Any person who possesses a firearm in this state as of July 1st is going to have to register it annually. This is potentially going to impact people that visit the state of California. People on duty station orders for the military are specifically not exempt from this. So if you're in the military and you're stationed in California and you bring your firearms with you because you're living off base or whatever, if you're in possession of those firearms, those are going to need to be registered yearly in the state of California, even if you're just living here or visiting here temporarily and not a full-time permanent resident of the state of California. Let's say you're driving around and pass through the state of California, want to stop at a hotel or something on your travels. It's looking like potentially you're going to need to register your firearm every year just to come across state lines with your gun that would be legal to possess because it's not an assault weapon or anything like that. But let's say you're just driving through with your revolver. You got to unload it in a locked container as the state of California requires. You're potentially going to be impacted by that. Any person who is caught with an unregistered firearm in the state of California that is not an antique firearm is going to be given a fine of $1,000. $1,000 if you get caught with this. Now, like I said, the only two options you have legally are $1,000 fine or register every firearm in your possession if you possess it in the state of California. There's always the third option. We're not going to talk about that. So let's talk about my specific experience with registration schemes in the past when it comes to the state of California. Now, I've lived in this state long enough to see multiple assault weapon bans. I was around for the bullet button ban. I had firearms that had bullet buttons. I had firearms before the 2016 ban, and then I did my stuff. I converted those to featureless because personally I was a featureless person before the bullet button ban was pushed through because I thought that the idea of using detachable magazines was important. So I had firearms. Then we get the 2016 ban. It's terrible. It takes forever for them to finally put out the registration system. The registration system has people that are affected and impacted because the system failed, and the system failed to allow people to register them, which then led to a opening up window in sometime 2020 or after where people that were unable to register their firearms due to DOJ errors were able to register their bullet button assault weapons. Then I was in possession of others, firearms that were not a rifle, pistol, or a shotgun. They were not an AOW. We are specifically talking about firearms that in the state of California were others. It was a 16-inch barreled AR-15 or longer without a stock. So it was not intended to be fired from the shoulder. It was too big to be a pistol, and it had a rifled barrel, so it was not a shotgun. It was not a rifle, pistol, or a shotgun. It was just a firearm. Because of that, at the time, that was not an assault weapon if it had every other feature and detachable magazines. And that was neat. It was something that I talked about a lot on this channel. Well, state of California banned those, and then I was put in a position where, as a YouTuber, state knows pretty much everything I own because I have to talk about it on camera or have to talk about it on camera, and I want to be able to do things legally in this state. I chose to register certain firearms as assault weapons, other assault weapons in the state of California. I submitted those in some time of October or November of the year that we were allowed to do so, December 31st being the last day we were able to do so. I got the confirmation from the DOJ saying, hey, we have received your application to register those firearms as an assault weapon. To this day, I have not gotten the confirmation that those firearms have been lawfully registered as assault weapons, which puts me in a weird place because as of right now, the other assault weapon ban is in effect. I own firearms that, if they were assembled, not admitting to crimes on camera, if they were assembled, would be considered other assault weapons. And to this day, to my knowledge, they are not properly registered with the state of California. So the only legal route that I have to own those specific firearms, because I cannot make it fixed mag due to the registration system, it said if you change the magazine device to a fixed magazine or such, that would be illegal. You can't do that. I have firearms that the only option that I have to possess them in the state of California is to have them unassembled, not in an assault weapon configuration. That's crazy. And every year around December, I send an email to the DOJ saying, hey, what's going on with this? Why haven't you processed this? What the hell is happening? And to this day, I have not heard back from them about it. And I know that I'm not alone. I know many people that are in situations like that. So my trust and faith in the DOJ running a registration scheme that's going to have to impact millions and millions and millions and millions of firearms in the state of California, I don't believe that they're going to be able to make that work. I don't think it's going to work properly, and I think many people are going to be impacted by this negatively. Now, who is this most likely to hurt? It's not going to affect gangbangers. It's not going to affect criminals that want to do mass atrocities. It's not going to affect them. You think they're worried about registration of a firearm before they go do a drive-by shooting? You think a mass shooter is concerned, oh shoot, I was going to go do a mass shooting, but then I found out that I didn't register my firearm this year, so I got to bring it out of state. Or before I go do that crime, I need to register this gun to my name. Really? Let alone that there's already been case law saying that someone that is in possession of an illegal firearm shouldn't be forced to register that firearm or something like that because it's a Fifth Amendment violation. This is a potentially Fourth Amendment violation, a Second Amendment violation, obviously. But it seems like the California Department of Justice and the state legislators and Gavin Newsom are trying to do everything that they possibly can that has not been explicitly said by the Supreme Court, hey, don't do that. But then they're also doing things that the Supreme Court said, don't do that, like SB2, which I am challenging as a plaintiff in May versus Bonta, the CRPA case. Support the CRPA. The people that this is really going to impact is going to be your grandpa. Your grandpa is likely going to get in trouble with the Department of Justice because of sb1160. How many old dudes have a gun that they've probably had for 30, 40 years and was the last firearm that they purchased and haven't thought about registration since? Maybe they go to the range and shoot 3 rounds to confirm 0 and then go hunting once a year. Or maybe they just have a shotgun sitting in their closet for protection if they ever need it. The amount of gun owners that fit into those categories is probably a number that we wouldn't believe if we knew the actual number. People that aren't constantly staying aware are the people that are going to be impacted by this, which is why I'm recommending you share this with a friend, tell them to oppose this, tell them to write their legislators and say, do not support this bill, because this is going to have a huge impact on a lot of people. We've already talked about the people that might just have to move here for the military. We've talked about people that might just have to travel through the state of California. We're talking about people that might own a ton of firearms, because if it is a $20, $30, $40 per firearm application every year, and you own 100 guns, let's say you own 10 guns, which I think isn't abnormal. It's not normal, I guess. But let's say you own 5 guns and you have to spend $100, $200 to register your guns every year. That's pretty crazy, on top of the fact that they raised DROS fees, that there's going to be an 11% tax on ammo and guns starting in July 1st of this year. They're trying to make it so that it discourages and pushes people away and puts enough friction on the process of owning a gun that people just choose to not own a gun. It's clearly a culture war. So what I want you to do is share this with a friend. Take a non-gun owner to the range this month. I know some places it's raining, you might not be able to get to your shooting locations like I am having trouble with lately, but take someone to the range that has not shot a gun before this month. I would love it if you commented down below later after watching this video, you take someone to the range, let me know how it went. Because these bills are going to be a huge negative impact on gun owners in the state of California, or gun owners that just want to visit California, to visit family, or for the military. It's going to be a huge impact that the DOJ is not. I've gone through enough of the registration processes and law changes that I know that the DOJ is not going to be putting out ads on Fox News or CNN. They're not going to be putting newspaper ads out saying, hey, make sure you register your guns this year. If you're not constantly staying aware and staying up to date and following people like me, you probably wouldn't know that this is even a thing being proposed. Let me know what you think down below. You guys know the drill. Have fun, be safe, stay dangerous. Peace.